Hi, it's Sari from Coaching Healthy Minds. Okay, so just wanted to do a brief video. I know I don't do brief very well because I ramble on. However, I'll be as brief as I can. It's just whilst it came to my mind because a lot of children I work with, and adults as well, I would say majority of children, what I'm doing is if they're anxious or they're overwhelmed or they're feeling really low or whatever it is, I'm teaching them to understand that they're experiencing everything through their thinking. Sometimes part of what the problem is that I think this is a society and a cultural thing, is they get so scared by the fact they're having negative thoughts. And I think that we can sometimes encourage that because, not intentionally, and I've done this myself, because you see all sorts of things about try and get your children to think more positive. Teach them to switch a negative to a positive. And that's really giving them a false message and false hope. Because that's kind of saying to them that negative thoughts are wrong. Now, you might not like negative thoughts, and wouldn't it be great if we could all go around just thinking purely positive thoughts? Well, we probably wouldn't survive actually, but wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be an ideal, kind, caring, loving world? But we are all going to have negative thoughts. And so sometimes children that have negative thoughts and they start to get into a cycle of having them quite often, and those thoughts are creating anxiety or them feeling really low, then they think there's something wrong with them because they see things around them and they hear people telling them, just change it to positive. So somehow they start to think, well, why can't I do that? Why am I thinking so negative? There must be something wrong with me. I must be a negative person. And that's just not true. And actually the relief sometimes, just from me explaining that very basic thing to them, that it's completely normal to have negative thoughts, can be such a relief. Because it's not the thoughts themselves. Our thoughts are completely neutral until we bring them to life and we do something about them. So if your kids are having negative thoughts, if your kids are having really nasty thoughts about other children or about anything, that doesn't automatically mean they're going to act on them. And the more they understand that that's normal and that's actually okay, the less attention and energy they're going to give to those negative thoughts, and they're going to pass much more quickly. Because often children will then go on to try and control those thoughts because they see them as bad and they're hearing messages around them, just look at it as a more positive. And they're thinking, well, why can't I do that? If everyone else is saying just do that, why can't I do that? The reason they can't do that is because they're human and it's completely normal that they're going to have negative thoughts. But it's like a vicious cycle, because the more they try and stop the negative thoughts because they see them as wrong, the worse they become. And that's when they can start to then have behaviours that they'll display in order to try and control those thoughts, because they feel so terrible doing them because they think they're so wrong. And as adults, we don't go around telling our children all the irrational thoughts that we have because we don't want to scare them and put ideas into their head. But, as humans, we all have scary, horrible thoughts that are uncomfortable, and children are no different. And one of the biggest things that I do is to help them understand that that is normal. And there's a huge gap between a thought and an action. And we don't just act on all our thoughts. So we don't have to be scared of them, because if we're not going to act on them, they're just going to go. And if you can even just let your children know that. So the next time I have done it, when you come from a privileged family, like we have a great family life, my daughter has near enough everything she wants. And sometimes I want her to see and appreciate that that's not the case for everybody. But actually, I don't want to take that to the other level where, if she's feeling frustrated because she doesn't have something, that it's not okay for her to have a negative thought about that. That she shouldn't just, that she's wrong for having that because she should be more appreciative. Yes, I want her to empathise with others, but there's a difference. And if you have a child that you see as spoilt rotten and yet they get cross because they don't get something, just think about how you tackle it, because it's just a thought. If they then go around throwing things around and tantrum and acting on that, then again, it's more about educating them that we don't necessarily always act on our thoughts and how to do that, rather than making them believe that they're bad for having bad negative thoughts and that they should just switch them into positive. Because we know as adults, if it was as simple as that, wow, wouldn't it be easy? And it isn't. because actually negative thoughts also serve a purpose. But we don't want them to be scary and overwhelming because we start to believe that we shouldn't be having them or there's nothing we can do about them. So I just really wanted to share that for anyone that's got children, because again, it's just so common, and children just don't seem to often understand that it's really okay to have negative thoughts. They are not going to harm them. They create feelings, thoughts create feelings, but they become really scared of them. And I really do believe a huge part of that is because they believe that they're wrong. And I think, again, as adults everywhere, Facebook is completely full of posts about positivity. Like, do you know what? It's all right to have shitty negative thoughts sometimes. It's okay for people to pee you off. It's okay to have angry thoughts. It's not okay to then go and punch someone based on those angry thoughts, but actually you can have a thought and it just can go just as quick. And then a nice thought can come in. You know, how many times have we, you know, I've had it where I've got angry with someone and then 5 minutes later I've looked at it from a different perspective and I've then felt compassion and love for that person. That's how it works. That's okay. We are human. So I just wanted to share that with you. Feel free to share if you feel it'll be useful for anybody with children. And yeah, it's okay to think negative, people. We all do it. We might like to pretend we don't, but we do. Bye for now.